Thank you. All right. Hi. So I am Kami. I write for themamadiaries.com. So nice to meet you both.
Hi, nice to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you.
Uh, so Mia, I want to start with you. So Monster High, it has such a huge fan base. What's it like to represent such an iconic brand?
Oh my gosh, it's such an honor. I mean, I grew up with a different generation of Monster High, and I loved the cartoon movies that existed at the time. I had the dolls. I played Monster High at recess. I was always Clawdeen. I would howl at the moon. It was very exciting. And so,
Oh,
to kind of have this full circle moment of getting the responsibility to portray Claudine in this current generation, it's been such an honor. It's been such a gift. Yeah.
I love that it came full circle for you. That's incredible. And like of all the characters, like that was who you wanted to play with the most, and that's you. That's awesome. Um, yeah. Heather, how did you kind of use dance as like a storytelling tool in Monster High too?
It's a great question. I spent a lot of years. I was an actor, and then I got into dance early on. But I think one of the reasons for why that was so helpful, and I also was in musical theater, is that you're really looking to embed meaning in the movement and the navigation of the choreography, like how it's going to tell the story, like you said. So I think for me, it's always about when to be obvious and when to kind of have it seeped underneath, so it has an effect, especially in camera.
Mhm.
But it doesn't go. It's not too on the head. What do they say? Head on the nail. I can't remember that saying, but anyway, the saying is basically too obvious, right? So yeah, I think especially working with Todd Holland, the director, like we were excited to navigate and do something even beyond what we did in Monster High 1, and something fun that we could do is like add props this time around to really tell story points. So, or use set pieces a little bit more. So we were able to integrate. I was pitching a lot of ideas that were integrating more of the world within the choreography to tell a story.
I love that. That's so great. Um, Mia, can you kind of talk about the evolution of Claudine from the first movie to the second?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the first movie, it was all about her figuring out how to, one, become comfortable with her true identity, and also figuring out, where she fit in that Monster High world, and making sure that she could be accepted for who she truly was. And then now we're in the second movie. Her friendships with Frankie and Draculaura are very strong. And so she's a lot more sure of herself. But I think with that, she puts a lot more pressure on herself. I think it's very important for her to make sure that nobody else has to experience the feelings that she went through in the first movie. And it's a very, very tough load to carry for a 16-year-old. And so she's,
Yeah,
navigating a new set of problems with her newfound confidence.
right. I think it's relatable for a lot of teens. So that's definitely, a great like message for them to hear and everything. Heather, how did you adapt like your choreography to accommodate the performers, their various like dance backgrounds that they all had?
Yeah, I basically, once I had an understanding of it's funny because choreography, our materials are humans, right? So it's a great question because yeah, it really became about strategy. Not all of our cast are dancers, and so especially in Monster High 1, it was about me figuring out what we could do. So yeah, it's all about strategy of like what will tell the story, what will look great on camera, but also will help the actors really embody their characters and feel great doing it. So I felt in Monster High 2 we could felt like that was our like we jump off Monster High 1 and we dive in, and we could really like level up. And Mia, for example, just like I could give her different things, more challenging movement, that she totally attacked and went with and ate it up. So it was super exciting.
That's awesome. Mia, what has been the most rewarding aspect portraying Claudine for you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think the community of Monster High is so strong. It's so tight knit. And, obviously Monster High existed before me. It'll exist after. But the fan base really welcomed us with open arms. They were a little protective at the beginning, which, I completely understand. But, once we really got into it, it was just, this community is filled with so much love. And also I remember the role that Monster High played in my childhood because, there were Barbies, and then Monster High was like for like kind of weird kids, and I was one of those. And it was so cool to get to see somebody like Clawdeen who looked like me and I could relate to her, and it was such a place of solace as a kid growing up and figuring out her place in the world. And so I think, having gone through that myself, I know the impact these movies can have on children, and I think it's the greatest gift.
Yeah, absolutely. Heather, were there any particular dance styles or influences that kind of inspired the choreography of Monster High too?
Yeah, well, we got into a bit of whacking this time around. I got to use a little bit more in one of the numbers, like a little bit more of a tender approach to the movement, not so monsterific. So that was fun. And yeah, a little bit of voguing we added in. So it's a mixture. Like that's what I love so much about, musical theater on film, is that like sometimes it's not necessarily identifiable as one style. It's this fusion of street styles but everything in a commercial lens. So it's fun to like pull on all the things I've trained in and be like, all right, this lends itself to Clawdeen. Let's see if Mia's into it. And for example, and we go from there.
Miia, do you have any favorite moments on set?
Oh my goodness. Yes, a lot. So I have so many fun memories. I think I remember, actually, I rewatched the movie recently, and I have so much fun remembering there's this one scene right after Draculaura goes to the human world to be with the witches. And there's this scene where all the ghouls are sort of having a debrief at breakfast about like what went down, what's gonna happen. And I remember just filming that, sitting around the table. I think it was Cleo, Heath, Deuce, Frankie, and Clawdeen. And it was just, I love ensemble moments because there's just so much energy, and I just have very fun memories. I think we kept breaking, which was probably annoying, but we were just having so much fun and we were just laughing the whole time. And I remember that very fondly.
That's awesome. I bet you guys have like a great friendship now after.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time I have today, but thank you both for chatting with me.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Kenny.
You too.